Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We are the Droid Life teams, Droid Life Show, episode 6, I believe. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I know it's tomorrow, but we're not going to be with you tomorrow as you all feast and shop and all that good stuff. But anyway, we got 4 team members here. No Ron tonight, but we do have Dave. And then I'm Kellen. We also have Eric. And there is Tim. Everyone say hi.
Hey.
Hola.
Hello.
So, another big show. I know I say that every time, but there's just a lot of stuff going on in Android right now. We pumped out a whole bunch of reviews this week. We've got the Droid DNA that Dave took care of. I did the Nexus 4. Tim was on the Nexus 10. There's a Galaxy camera floating around here. I actually have a Windows phone right now. There's a lot of stuff going on. And as we head into big holiday shopping season, a lot of you are trying to decide what device you want to pick up. So hopefully we can help you decide with the show today. So to get us started, I want to talk about the Droid DNA. I know that seems to be the hot phone on the site right now. Everyone wants to know, does the battery life suck? How's the camera? What's that screen like? How does it feel in hand? Is it too big? Yada, yada, yada. So if you didn't read Dave's review, you should probably do that. I believe it's linked in the post. But I'm just going to start with Dave. I just want to get sort of your overview of the device, what you like, what you don't like, just sort of give everyone a sense of what you got from it.
Well, absolutely, the display is the #1 feature of this phone. We're talking about the 1080p, and honestly, I can't. Usually, you can pick out pixels in certain images, cannot on this display, and that, to me, was the absolute best feature, as well as the form factor. I mean, we're talking about 5 inches that I can actually hold in my hand decently.
That sounds so dirty. Anyway, keep going. I couldn't help it.
I'm not a fan of Sense. If you read the review, you're aware of that. I do like that we have the inductive charging, but I was not able to test that myself, unfortunately. But it flies. It's a fast device. If I had to stick with Verizon as a service provider, and I had to pick a phone, this would be the phone that I would use currently on Verizon.
Yeah, because you said you didn't like the Note, right? You thought the Note was too big.
Yeah, the Note I just think is too large. I mean, I wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah, and so the DNA, because it's almost more edge to edge, if you want to say, than like the Razer HD, I believe. So while it's a 5-inch device, it doesn't feel that big, right?
Correct. It is. I actually forget that it's a 5-inch device because it doesn't actually look like a boat in my hand.
Yeah, that is nice. And then, so battery life, I know you said you were in and out of LTE areas and things like that. What was the battery life okay for you? I mean, did you usually get like a day? Were you getting 10 hours? What were you getting?
If you're using the phone and you're out and about, you're gonna get you're looking at probably 12 to 16.
Okay.
I think if you're fully out without using Wi-Fi at all, and you're constantly checking on your phone. If you're going to be doing movies or playing a game, it's going to tank hard.
Still, 12 hours isn't bad.
That's not too bad, yeah.
This is the thing, though. If you're watching, now let's just say you were not in LTE, but you're actually on Wi-Fi utilizing the phone. I played the entire Transformers movie, start to finish. I just left the phone there, let it stream, and it only killed maybe 15-20% of the battery.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Now, granted, we weren't using LTE at that time, but to me, I think the LTE is the only actual sync. Like, it's the only thing that's really taken away from the battery. And even then, as long as you're in a good signal, it's still sipping on it. The one time, I think I was out at Olive Garden, and it was literally, it couldn't decide if it was 3G, 4G, or no signal.
Yeah.
And it literally, the battery just dipped out. But that'll happen on any phone where you're sitting there doing radio switches.
Yeah,
so it's a good device. I mean, I did get a couple... I think the first day when I didn't even use it and it was just sitting around, it was over a day and I still had tons of percentage left. So I think it's going to be a use case scenario, but overall I would say the battery is decent.
Okay. Because like I just looked around at reviews, around the internet, and like, most of them all said the battery life was pretty good. I think like The Verge said it had awful battery life, but everybody else was pretty impressed with it. So that's good to know that yours was okay too.
I know another big thing that we had in comments was the camera, and I just wanted to follow up and say that it doesn't matter how you change the settings, you cannot make this camera better.
You're just not a fan of this camera, are you?
Really?
I was in a fully lit arena. You just took a shot, didn't you, Kellen, when you were at a game of some sort?
At that Blazers game?
Yeah, I took a picture from a Blazers game, huh?
And I was in a same sort of arena, and the photo was crap. Took him yesterday. I followed some people suggested some setting changes. It's a disappointment, is what it is. I tried different software. Camera Zoom FX and the stock software, and it didn't matter what I did. It's not so much. They look okay on device, but it's as soon as you get them off of there that you notice there's extreme noise and extreme pixelation.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that is acceptable. It looks like pictures taken with phones 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, especially since HTC's been known over the last year to make some of the better smartphone cameras.
Yeah, the One X's camera rocks. I'm really surprised to hear that.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe most of us take pictures on our phones and we look at them on there and we all go, "This looks beautiful." But if you actually do blow it up, throw it on a big monitor, maybe they all look like crap. I guess I don't do that all that often. I look at stuff on my phone through Twitter and Instagram and things like that, and like mostly on my phone, not necessarily on computer stuff. Maybe I'm gonna start paying attention to that more. That is unfortunate, though. That is too damn bad.
Other than that camera, I do think this is a quality device for people to utilize as their next purchase.
Yeah, it definitely seems like right now it's between that or the Note 2.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that, actually. We get a lot of questions. Note 2 better, DNA better. What do you think? I haven't actually held the DNA yet, but even with that, I would still probably say, God, I don't even know. I would think the Note 2 just because of the software suite of things. Even if you don't, like, I personally don't care about, like the pen and using that stuff, but I like some of the other stuff Samsung's doing, like even pop-up play and all the sharing stuff they're doing with the camera. And HTC on the DNA, it's still just boring old Sense. Even though it's Sense 4 Plus, they don't have this like new robust set of apps and stuff. So I think for me personally, I would probably tell people to go Note 2. But I don't know. I want to go around and get what everybody thinks. So Tim, what do you think about Note 2 versus DNA?
Without having touched the DNA, I don't know. It's hard for me to recommend the Note 2 to anyone that has, average hands. I don't know. Like, it looks real good when, what's his name? Oh, man. Of course, I'm spacing on his name now. The King, NBA. Come on. LeBron. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, he's going to tweet me and be like, "You forgot my name, bro." But either way, so, when LeBron holds it, it looks totally cool and just fine. But of course, when I hold it, it looks ridiculous. So I took it out to lunch today, and I knew I just looked like a fool. But so if I had to choose one, I would go DNA just for the size. But then if I was recommending it, it would depend. If Samsung has a really cool product here and all the software they put into it, like the camera rocks, it's probably better than the DNA from what I could see from the review and all that. So. It just depends on, I think, what people are going to be using it for.
Yeah. What do you think, Eric? Note 2. I know you've always been kind of a DNA guy, but
he's a DNA Eric. I was going to say he's a Galaxy Note fanboy. What are you talking about?
I like the Note. I like the original Note. I haven't gotten to play with the Note 2 yet, but I don't know. I'm really anxious to see what the DNA. I want to play with them both first because it seems like somebody in my family is getting a phone from work, so I'm next in line for an upgrade, so I'm going to get to decide here within the next couple months what phone I'll be getting. But I don't know. I'm still leaning towards the DNA with the quad-core S4 and the 1080p screen. I don't think I'd use the S Pen that much, but like I said, I need to kind of feel them both out and see which one I'd prefer.
Yeah, and Dave, we sort of know you're kind of a DNA guy, not necessarily a Note 2 guy.
Yeah, that's true. You do know.
That's something to point out, though. I mean, the Galaxy Note 2 has the stylus, and I've pulled it out maybe once. And it's just that as a phone user, I just don't use a stylus. I don't care how big it is. I'm gonna just try and like hand finger this thing. I'm gonna try and use my fingers on it. I'm not gonna use a stylus. That's ridiculous. So
yeah, I mean, even while I was reviewing it, I didn't have really a use for the pen. I mean, I pulled out the pen to use all of the like features Samsung was trying to highlight and stuff like that. But yeah, personally, I don't have a use for the pen. I just, like I said, I like all the sharing and stuff that Samsung's doing with their cameras and things like that. And HTC, I guess I'm waiting for HTC to finally do something new with Sense. We've talked about this like 3 shows in a row now, but every time I look at Sense, I just go, that looks boring and old. And like Samsung seems to be totally revamping and revising and bringing their TouchWiz back to life, and HTC's just doing the same damn thing. Yeah, go for it.
Does the Note 2, what's the, I forget, is the screen, is there a bezel on that or on the outside? Yeah. Is it raised?
It is. It kind of has that bubble, doesn't it, Tim? Like it kind of does that waterfall over the outside that's kind of trendy right now.
Yeah, it's got the bubble.
You touched on it in your Nexus 4 overview, and I would say that's another thing that I like about the DNA is that the screen rolls over the edge a bit, so that it's actually a smooth feel when you're going and doing, gesture motions. So you can actually start from one side, and you can actually like start at the edge and move over. And I do find that sometimes if the phones have the bezel, it's a little harder to get to the edge, for some sensitive applications.
I think that it was kind of necessary on a device of this size, at least, the Note 2, where you gotta have it rolled. If it's not like if the Galaxy Note 2 had bezels like the Razer does, it would be the most unfriendly phone to hold. I think it would just hurt. It's just So yeah.
Yeah, this whole sort of waterfalling display thing that they're doing is awesome. I think Samsung started it with the Galaxy S3. And then LG started doing it, and Samsung or the Note 2 and the DNA also have it. But yeah, it's really nice. I mean, like the Nexus 4, which we'll get into in just a second. I mean, you touch your hand across this thing, and it feels like the softest screen you've ever put your finger on. So, any last thoughts on the DNA? Anybody?
Get a case for it, or at least a screen protector. I turned the phone over. I was at Panera, put the phone screen down to take a picture. Rotated the phone to take a side picture. As soon as I picked it up, guess what's on the screen now? Tiny little scratches.
And it's Gorilla Glass 2, right?
I don't recall if they actually stated whether it was or not.
I think it might be. Gorilla Glass 2, I don't mean to hate on Gorilla Glass 2, but it hasn't been that awesome. I mean, every phone scratches now. Like
if this was my phone, I'd be pissed with the amount of scratches that are on it from the 2 seconds that all I did was, and not even like pressure, all I did was just slide it around, and it's the whole edge of it.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. What about the back, like the build quality of everything? Is everything okay?
I mean, other than that, it's solid. That's my one concern would be if you have it, don't put it face down on anything. Otherwise, it's solid. The back is not a fingerprint magnet like the Nexus 10, of course, apparently.
That's nice. But, and it's funny too because they put that notification light on the back. They're like asking you to put.
They want you to turn it over.
Yeah,
and,
they
like,
do.
Have it on the backside, and then you do.
I'll never do it.
I mean, yeah. How many people put their phone face down on their desk? Do any of you guys? I don't. I mean, not very often.
Yes, you do. Just saying.
I think if I go out to eat, if you're someplace where you want to, show people you're paying attention to them, and you flip it over so you're not paying attention to the notification light, something like that, or. I mean, to me, the biggest, how many people go to the movie, I constantly put my phone in, like, the cup holder on the side, with the screen facing down so I don't have the light blinking in my face. You can't do that with this phone. There's no way to disable that back LED. So you're always going to have a blink no matter what way you're looking at the phone.
Yeah, that's really weird and unfortunate that I mean, it seems like kind of a cool idea to put a notification light on the back, but yeah, if you can't turn it off or on, that's... Because a lot of people, like you just said, turn it over to sort of block that. One last thing about the DNA. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but for like the last, I don't know how many months, I complained about the 1X and the black bar because they don't have a menu button in Android. And so for those of you that don't know, the DNA, it happens on that as well because not all the apps have been updated. But what they didn't do, and it's something that they did with the 1X, is they add a software update where you could map the menu button, or I'm sorry, the multitask button to be a menu button. And for whatever reason, the DNA, they left that option out. So you get the black bar no matter what. I would assume they're going to do some sort of update later on to fix that, but it's just insane. This hardware button thing, it's starting to drive me a little nuts. So, all right, let's move on from Droid DNA and talk about, well, we were talking a little bit earlier about where phones go from here. So HTC put out this phone with a 1080p display, sort of set a new standard. You know, at one time it was 1 gigahertz single core processors, and then it was it was dual core processors at 1 gigahertz, and then it was 1.2 gigahertz, 1.5, and yada. Then we got quad cores, and we got 720p displays. Now we've got 1080p displays. Do we even have any room to go anywhere now, or is everything just going to be a 1080p display? We got Samsung saying they've got one coming. Somebody else, I think LG has a 1080p device coming. Where do we go from here? And do you guys like the 1080p thing? First of all, I'll just go around. Tim, like, does 1080p? Do you want to see more 1080p displays, or does it just seem like overkill at this point?
No, I don't think it's overkill. I think the 1080p is cool, but in terms of where do we go, I mean, you could always go like 4K or anything like that. I mean, well,
4K device.
Who knows how
soon?
Yeah, who knows how long that battery will last? But
like 3 minutes.
Hey, you know, that's fine. I work from home. I could just leave it plugged in all day. That's
so
cool.
Then just get a TV.
No, I can't take a TV in my pocket, buddy. Come on now. So, but either way, yeah, I think besides displays getting more, just, you know, higher resolutions, I don't think you can really go anywhere kind of hardware-wise. I mean, they've gone like the 3D route, and that was crap. So stay away from 3D manufacturers. Just don't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't even know where we can go, like processors. Like Qualcomm's, they've got this quad core Pro now, but and Samsung and their Exynos, I believe they have a quad core Exynos 5. The dual core just came out with the Nexus 10, but I haven't even heard of these guys like the Exynos 6 or the Snapdragon S5. Like, I don't even know if we've heard news about those. So it seems like everyone's going to throw a 1080p in their phone next year, and they're all going to be running either Snapdragon Pros or they're going to run Exynos 5s, and that's kind of what we're going to get all year. I don't know.
Quadruple core Tegra.
Yeah. What's that?
We've hit the plateau of technology at where it sits right now. You know, we're catching up to where TVs and computers are now. You don't see computers with more than 4 cores, or you don't see monitors over 1080p. So I think once everybody gets to that level, then things are going to start getting interesting to kind of see what manufacturers do to differentiate themselves, because pretty soon everybody's going to have a 1080p screen and quad core. But
yeah, sorry.
Shout outs to the guys in the chat for reading my mind. I think battery life is the next place to go. After we get all these cool little gadgets inside the device, we need to make sure that they run longer and not destroy our battery life.
I mean, isn't that almost the #1 complaining point that we've all had for like 3 years now? It's been battery life. Battery life is the only technology that hasn't changed whatsoever. And Motorola, they're not necessarily using new technology. They're somehow cramming it into a smaller, thinner battery. Yeah, I think that would probably be #1 for me, that's for sure. Dave, you got any thoughts on where we should go from here, from 1080p?
I don't think we can go any further than 1080p currently. I don't think it's feasible, and I don't think it matters. What I think we're going to start to see is like the battle of form factor is going to be one thing. Is how can they keep all of these, you know, features that we're used to in terms of device features, and how can they present them in different ways? You know, are we gonna see phones that are kind of like transparent in a way that you've seen in like movies? I mean, I don't know how they'll make that happen, but you know, and I think the other thing is going to be a feature war. I mean, we're getting to the point where everything is, you know, tied up in terms of specs. Everybody's getting the same specs in there. So now it's going to be how can you sell it, and I mean, they're always improving software, and I just think that's where it is. We're looking at like Miracast, you know, how we're going to be starting to see the phones putting display on the display, and I think that's what we're looking at as the next big wave.
Yeah, maybe there are no more big game changers. Maybe it's all just fine-tuning now. Fine-tuning cameras to be better, fine-tuning batteries to be better. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's going to be coming from the software side. It's not. We're reaching a hardware point. You know, you can always do a lot with software.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree that we've reached like the highest point where hardware can go, though. That's just silly.
Well, we're at the point where it's matching our desktops and we're matching our TVs. So at this point, we're phone technology has caught up with everything else. So now it's not going to be such a rapid fight to catch up with everything.
I think mobile is pretty much the new, like, really, it's kind of hard to explain because it's so silly. But I don't think the mobile is going to be playing catch up with desktops anymore. I think it's going to be almost the other way around because I use my cell phone probably more than I use my computer, of course, unless I'm working, but I think just mobile is just kind of like the new space. And since desktops really have nowhere else to go, I think mobile is going to be actually carrying the torch. Maybe even desktops will kind of follow that. It's hard to tell because, people are replacing their laptops with tablet computers now. So really, I just don't know. I think desktop game is kind of dying, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, we're in a post-PC world. I think that's what you were going for there. But
yeah.
You still need PCs to create everything else at this time.
Never.
Those big mechanical keyboards that are so loud that Tim has.
Tap, tap, tap. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting to a point where mobile devices have become so powerful and so important that they're almost on a similar level, maybe with computers. There's got to be somewhere to go, though, yeah. And maybe it's software, maybe there's some new hardware that we just can't think about. But
4K resolution exists, but it's so expensive right now that there's no way that you could ever put it into mobile for at least like another 2 or 3 years at the most. Then maybe, but right now we're kind of at the top of the ceiling.
I hope no one ever creates a 4K phone.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
I just hope it never ever happens. 1080p is sort of a bit much. 4K, please don't do it. Please, Sony or whoever's doing these, Sharp, just don't do it. Okay. All right, let's move on from DNA stuff. So I reviewed the Nexus 4 this week, and Nexus 4 still not broken. Look at that. Lasted through like 2 weeks now. Definitely love the phone. HSPA, I'm fine with that. LTE, I don't necessarily miss it all that much unless I'm uploading a video or something. But so far the phone, everything about it, I really like. The camera is greatly improved over previous Nexus devices. It's crazy fast. I'm still not that big a fan of the glass back. It does scare me a little bit still to this day. I take like extra special care of this thing to not break it. What else? Oh, so my only problems really with it were battery life. And I know most other places reported battery life being exceptional on it, and I just haven't. Now, I'm using mine on AT&T, and I think a lot of people are using it on T-Mo's 42 Plus or Plus 42. So maybe it's an AT&T thing, but and it's not like I'm getting poor battery life. I'm getting anywhere from 9 to about 15 hours. But the 2 times that I was really battery testing, I got between 9 and 10 on straight HSPA AT&T, and that's just not that good for a device that has no LTE in it. And that was one of the excuses Google used for leaving LTE out was battery life. That's, to me, is not really all that good. But apparently everyone else on T-Mo's got great battery life, so maybe I just need to kill off AT&T. Otherwise, though, the phone's crazy cheap. I know you can't really buy it right now, and that's unfortunate. I do wish more people could get their hands on this thing. Like I mentioned earlier, the display is one of the coolest displays ever. I don't remember this from the Optimus G, or maybe that was just so long ago. But it's soft to the touch almost. Like when your finger's sliding across it, it feels better than it has. There's just no friction. I don't know. It feels really great. So
no friction scares me because I will drop that.
Yeah. Well, it's not that it's hard to hold. Like the back part being the glass, like it definitely sticks to your finger. But just something about dragging your finger across the actual display feels really good. I don't know what they've done. It's kind of cool. I think it's like LG's G2 hybrid touch display or something like that. It's some technology they're doing, which is really nice. The only other concern that I really had is the power lock switch. And this seems kind of minor, but mine sticks and kind of wiggles a little bit, and I just noticed it since the review. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it, but it's kind of, I don't want to say it's loose, but it just feels like it's a little weak, and that kind of scares me because, your power lock switch is sort of important. But otherwise, yeah, phone's been great. No reception problems like previous Nexus, or I should just say the Galaxy Nexus. Yeah. I don't know. I know you guys haven't had a chance to get this yet because the device is impossible to buy, but
yeah.
Oh, does Dave have his?
I have mine.
Oh,
Oh,
let's talk about it.
fancy.
Let's get your impressions on this then, since you're the only other one with one.
I do like the screen does feel nice, but I do feel, and I don't know if it's adapting to me now because it did feel a little unresponsive
Okay.
in my initial playing with it. Service, I can't speak to the same results you're having because I live in a TMO doesn't exist area. I mean, I have absolutely no signal whatsoever right now.
Do you have AT&T there?
AT&T is also quite terrible. And unfortunately, this is a Verizon area. If you want service, well, decent service, you need to be using Verizon. Now, I did take it with me. I had to take a little trip yesterday, and it did hold up pretty well once I got out of this little dead pocket. So reception seems good if you're in an area where it's provided. Mind you, I have a T-Mobile SIM at the moment, so I can't speak for AT&T. Other than that, now, I have the DNA to put this up against, and the screen, therefore, I don't find, in terms of the actual display clarity and color, to be on par with the DNA.
You're spoiled, yeah.
I mean, compared to like the Razer, I do have the Razer M right here, and that even to that it seems a little muted. So I don't know if maybe they, the color temps just need to be adjusted. If it's something we can do manually, through software, or if it literally is just not as pretty a display. In terms of build quality, though, I am a little scared to break it with the glass back. But I have no gripes. It feels really light, especially. I mean, the DNA doesn't feel heavy by any means, but between the two, it feels like a toy, an empty phone. That's how light it is.
Huh. So, what about camera? Have you taken pictures compared to the DNA? Is it better?
Oh, yeah, that's not a question.
Wow. I mean, that's good to know because, I mean, like the Galaxy Nexus camera was awful. Even the Nexus S camera was not good. I don't remember the HTC the Nexus One. I don't remember the camera on that thing, but so that's good to know, especially since you have the DNA to compare.
I mean, I know we were knocking on it before, but I don't think the Razer M takes all that bad of a picture itself. But yeah.
Huh. So you like the device so far, though? Even though
it is a nice device. If I had to rely on it solely, I would not be disappointed with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good comparison since you have the DNA right there. Tim, Eric, any thoughts on Nexus 4 after reading the review or anything? Do you want to pick one up now, or do you just not care? I don't know.
Yeah, I find myself caring a little less and less about this device as it goes on. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like busy with other devices and stuff. But the Nexus 4 just isn't really piquing my interest anymore like it used to be. I don't know. I want to get my hands on one because I still haven't even touched one yet. So I'll drive over sometime. But
what is it though that's making it just less appealing? Is it the sales process that sucked? Is it hearing about the glass, the battery life? I don't know. There's gotta be something.
Yeah, well, probably all of that stuff kind of combined a little bit, and then plus with the launch of the DNA, like the DNA piques my interest more because it's more like the 1 series from HTC, which I love, and LG has something to do with it. The camera, just a lot to do.
On LG, we gotta get over this LG hate.
Yeah, well, come on now.
They probably deserve a little bit of it,
Yeah, I probably have to get my hands on one and give it a day or so, and I'll like it.
I mean, the Nexus 4, I don't know if the top selling point is the price, but I mean, once you go from there, you start taking away, like, there's no LTE, the battery life could be questionable, there's no SD card slot. I mean, maybe all those things do just start adding up, and maybe now that there's all these reviews out there, people are starting to get a hold of it, maybe it is less appealing. I don't know. To me, it's still my favorite phone. I don't necessarily want to switch to anything else, but...
Well, they ostracized the biggest network in the United States by not having LTE. I'm not going to go pick it up if it's not Verizon. I can't afford 2 phone lines as much as I'd like to. Then I could test a lot more phones, but it just, if I'm not using a phone as my daily driver, it doesn't really interest me all that much. Just from a price standpoint, not everybody has money to go picking up as much as we want to.
Yeah,
most of us don't.
And that's an interesting point. So we've talked about how the lack of LTE is a bit ridiculous, but at least it works on AT&T T-Mobile. Google completely cut out Verizon. You're right. I mean, you can't get this phone and then put it on Verizon in any way whatsoever. And that is, I don't know, is that a shot at the disappointment that was the Galaxy Nexus on Verizon, or just the way Verizon and Google sort of handled that together?
I hope so. I hope Google is just like blaming Verizon for every problem that the Galaxy Nexus has, because Google's Galaxy Nexus's line, or Nexi, whatever, they're supporting theirs. Like, they're getting updates, all this stuff. Verizon just needs to get their ish together. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Google's like, why are we going to deal with you if we can't even get updates out to our users? I don't know. That's a lot of drama there.
Yeah, I guess until we get VoLTE, I don't know that we're ever going to get another Nexus close to Verizon. They need to have something that's more open and not attached to CDMA.
And as much as we were all angry when they first announced, that it wasn't going to have LTE because it's a very small market for them, it makes sense. It just kind of sucks that things went bad between Verizon and Google, because I know so many people, myself included, we're on Verizon, we were just sitting there listening to all these awesome things that you could do to a Nexus and how easy it was to unlock, and then we were like, oh, we finally get one, and then it goes horribly wrong, and now we're never going to get one ever again. So
yeah, it is actually really sad. It's really sad. It still doesn't have 4.1.2, I don't think, and who knows when it's getting 4.2.
Yeah, not for a while.
What a disaster.
It could be forever.
It really might be forever. All right, let's move on to the Nexus 10. So Tim reviewed the Nexus 10.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't even want to intro this. I'm just going to let you take it. Go for it. What do you think about the Nexus 10? Just give us your spiel.
I don't know. Well, I mentioned to somebody, but it could quite possibly be the best Android 10-inch tablet. I know that Asus has a way of kind of enhancing Android. They'll put their skin on top of it, but then they add little things which are great. But this one kind of speaks for itself, I think. Android 4.2 is a huge plus, but Samsung did an amazing job with the hardware. Feels fantastic in hand. And I will always love my Nexus 7 a bit more because it's more my size, but the Nexus 10 is fantastic. So, yeah, and the display is killer. There's really just nothing. I have no negatives for the device whatsoever.
Yeah, you were struggling in your review. You were like, dude, I don't have anything negative really to say about this.
Yeah, what, besides the fingerprint magnet, who cares? So other than that, it was just, usually it's kind of easy for me to find negatives about a Wi-Fi only tablet, but this one was great.
Yeah, and I guess it doesn't have removable storage, but some of us care about that, some of us don't.
Yeah, well, someone in the chat just said the back plastic. I'm sorry, it's not. It doesn't feel like plastic. If you compare this to the Samsung Galaxy Tab, that's plastic. This is a soft, kind of rubbery feel. It's not plastic, people. Just get that word out of your head when you're talking about the Nexus 10. It's not plastic.
Well, and I had it for a day or two, and yeah. I will say the same thing. It doesn't feel like, and everyone calls Samsung stuff cheap, right? Because some of their stuff
is not cheap.
This thing does not feel cheap. It's one piece, and you can talk about your twist test, but the back, it sticks in your hand. It's not slippery. There's that really soft touch stuff up top, which is the Nexus 7. That's nice. It's for being plastic. It's actually kind of nice plastic. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for being labeled plastic. I wish they wouldn't, because, HTC didn't, on the 1X, they didn't label the back plastic. This is plastic, but it's that polycarbonate, whatever. That's what Samsung should have did. They should have just made up a word. And, it's not plastic. It's just, poly, hybrid, foam. I don't care what they call it. It's not plastic.
Well, and HTC did the ceramic, really fancy thing with the 1S, and it chipped, and it was the worst thing ever. So yeah, plastic works, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Someone asked about what did they say? Something about
app support.
Am I concerned about app support for the HD display? Yeah, a little bit. How about going beyond just the HD display and just the fact that there aren't that many Android tablet apps in general, let alone one that's going to fit the resolution of this thing?
Does everything look like crap? Like, did most apps do they scale properly? And they're supposed to, or do they
I mean, they scale fine, but I didn't find an app that wouldn't work because of the resolution or anything. Like, you can't even play Angry Birds Star Wars on the DNA, and it plays just fine on the Nexus 10. So I don't know. I'm not a developer. I don't know really any of that technical aspects why it won't work, but it looks fine. Nothing looks like crap. But as far as like Android and tablet apps go, like someone needs to step their game up. But it has nothing to do with the HD display isn't a problem, I don't think.
But everything looked great. Like, you looked at text, magazines, any of that stuff on there. Everything looked awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to look at everything I could, and everything just really looked good. Like, I was more blown away by like YouTube videos. I just watched a lot of YouTube videos, and they look great. I just had a great time watching stuff on it. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So,
do any of your Apple homies have a Retina iPad that you got to compare it to, or not?
Yeah, I have a neighbor that's got the new iPad, and it's kind of hard to compare the two, because I mean that iPad's pretty sweet, like the display at least, but when they're kind of next to each other, the naked eye just really doesn't do it any justice, and I don't have a macro lens, so I can't do any. This is a test, like, and see the pixels or anything like that. But they both look great compared to each other. Really, the naked eye probably just can't pick it up.
Yeah, it's not like the Retina iPad was just like obviously better looking or anything weird like that.
No, not at all. Not at all. If anything, the Nexus 10 held its own pretty well, and they weren't jealous at all because they got a brand new iPad. But yeah, I think it did well. It gave Android like a good name.
Yeah, and it's back available, right? You can get both the 16 and 32 gig, right? They're both available again.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a big 10-inch tablet guy, but I liked every minute that I spent with it. I mean, it's a cool tablet. I keep contemplating whether or not I want to pick one up or not, and then I just go, I have an Nexus 7 over there that I never use either. But Eric or Dave, Nexus 10 interests you? Interested in picking that bad boy up?
I'm interested in it just for the resolution on the device. Like, I want to see, I'm mostly interested in from a first-person point of view of that. Like, I want to see that my stuff looks good on it. But I do think as a device with that much extra resolution to work with, it'll be interesting to see if people start upgrading and how that's going to affect APKs, because we do have a limit on how large they can go, and as people try to accommodate the larger resolutions, we're going to be hitting a space issue.
So I missed the first part of that because I got cut. But you were talking about apps. So as a guy that develops, icons and you do wallpapers, and you do stuff that's supposed to look pretty on a device. Are you looking forward to, or do you even have to make any changes?
That's what he was saying. Yeah.
Is that what you were saying? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the DNA is a perfect example because it has a larger resolution. I believe it's 144 by 144 is the icon size on a Nexus 10 for it to be in the resolution. And we're going from 9696 that was on the current champ, which was the Galaxy Nexus. So it's a huge jump. And I mean, we're just talking about icons, and everything else is going to have to scale as well. So I do think, and now we're also seeing, I mean, this goes back to not having SD storage and devices coming out with, little to no storage space. APK sizes are going to grow, and with that, your storage space is going to shrink. So we need to see how that's going to be affected moving forward.
Yeah, that's interesting. Has Google said much about doing apps for this tablet? I mean, like when Apple came out with the Retina iPad, they were like, we got to upgrade all our apps to Retina and yada, yada, yada. I don't feel like Google's done that, have they?
I think I saw a snarky response from one of the developers essentially saying that Android is made to scale, so it wouldn't matter whether you're on, an MDPI tablet or the new Nexus 10. If the developer is doing their apps correctly, it should look good either way.
Right.
Don't feel bad for Android developers. Feel bad for iOS developers. Have to scale from 3.5 to 4 inch. Like, now that's a real pain in the ass right there.
Poor Apple kids.
Yeah.
All right, Nexus 10, anything else?
I was really anxious to read Tim's review because historically Tim and I have talked about how he just doesn't like to do tablet reviews, and to see that he was really excited about this one, I think that was the, what really stood out to me about this tablet.
Yeah, at first, well, whenever I was going to like approach a tablet review, I'm like, okay, so we know it's a tablet, like, but what what makes this thing different from any other tablet? It has the Nexus name on it. I mean, but then, you just get into using it, and you're like, holy crap, this could like get me back into using a 10-inch tablet. Will it? Probably in the long run, probably not, just because the Nexus 7 has taken over my life. But it's a good tablet for anyone who is hoping for that 10-inch factor. Then there you go.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up reviewing tablets. For those in the chat, reviewing tablets is one of the hardest things on the planet to do. Because there was this time when everyone had a new 10-inch tablet, and every single one of them were identical, and they all sucked. It was a tough time. I mean, Asus was doing good tablets. Everybody else's were just awful.
At least, when you're doing phones and stuff, the easy part about that is that it's carrier tied. And so then you have something to talk about. Like, this thing is like, it's tied to your Wi-Fi, and it's just Android. Like, what? This is Snoozeville. Come on now. So you basically just have to, like, kind of be creative.
Yeah, that's good to know that I got a favorable review though, because we haven't been that nice to 10-inch tablets in the past.
Yeah, definitely for 10-inch tablet, 10 out of 10, no doubt. And I give the Android ecosystem a 12 out of 10, no doubt about it.
That was fanboy stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on from this. The other thing we had this week was this bad boy right here. This is a Galaxy camera.
Oh yeah.
Whoop.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to take many pictures with it yet, but you can see it's full-on Android, big 4.8-inch HD display. It's pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. It's got HSBA+, quad-core processor. It's actually a real camera. It's not just a crappy smartphone camera. But it's got full like app suite. Like you can go in and like go between home screens and app drawer and all that stuff. And it actually has on-screen navigation keys. Talk about that. So Samsung, we're going to put the Galaxy S3 out, the Note 2 with these physical hardware, crappy buttons, and then our cool camera is going to have on-screen. But we'll do a full review of this later, and we'll talk about how hopefully it's awesome. But yeah, anyway, that's Galaxy camera. Is anybody interested in the Galaxy camera?
I am actually.
Yes.
I am.
Yeah.
How much is it? Like 500? Is that
A lot.
Yeah,
a
that
lot
price,
of money.
I don't know.
A stupid price. It's stupidly ridiculously priced, and plus you have to get it through AT&T. Like, what kind of BS is that?
Well, it's
not. You don't have to get it through the contract, but like you can't buy it straight from Samsung Wi-Fi only, right? Exactly.
No, I don't
That's
think so.
silly.
And you can't. I don't even think you could really buy it anywhere yet. I think like AT&T has a few. Like I had a few people email us afterwards. They were like, "We can't get a hold of this thing," and I didn't realize that. I thought it was like for sale or on sale already.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool though. I mean, I like the fact that it's all touchscreen and it's an actual like the specs on this thing are better than most phones. I mean, this kicks the incredible 4G LTE's ass all over the place. It's not even
The
close.
incredible 4G LTE.
Yeah. That just came out like a couple months ago, and it's garbage. This thing's almost better than like the Razer HD. Not that the Razer HD is bad, but I mean like the screen's better.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
They've got more space.
It's got a better processor. I don't know.
They've got more space to work with since they're
Yeah.
not
But why?
trying to make it as thin as humanly possible.
That's a good point.
They do have a lot to work with. I mean, and the screen's like it's edge to edge pretty much. It's kind of cool. But you guys all said yes, that you are interested in it. So
Definitely.
Why? And so why though?
Man.
Besides the price, like why are you interested in this thing?
Eric?
Dave.
Dave.
I think for me, connectivity of being able to take higher quality pictures than like a cell phone camera provides, and being able to utilize Android to put those directly to Facebook or put those into some sort of album somewhere. I just think I like the connectivity part. I could take pictures and I mean it probably doesn't have Miracast, and I like to think about the future that have these cameras like that you could then push the display over to like a TV or something.
Yep.
And be able to show everyone what's going on right there. Like I just snapped these photos. Here, let me go put these into like a moving portrait album on the TV while this party's going on. People can see up to the minute, or maybe like a party camera. Pass the camera around, people take pictures, and then it's automatically feeding those to displays in maybe at an event, and people can see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it is DLNA. I can't ever say that. So you can share with TVs and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not Miracast.
But to me, that's what I want to see is the all the kind of hardware coming together and being able to, like future stuff that you see in movies where it's like, hold on, let me throw my display over here so you can see what I'm doing. That kind of stuff is what really,
the Tony Stark phone from Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
Pretty much.
Tell me that didn't impress you. Hold on, let me
that was awesome.
Boom.
I want to get it for the irony of just being able to take really awesome pictures and then put them on Instagram with crappy filters.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. That's all I'll use it for, Instagram.
That was like one of the first things I did when I got it. I was like, oh, I'm logging into Instagram.
Oh, Instagram right now.
And Instagram was preloaded on there. I don't know if Samsung threw that on the review unit beforehand or if it was just there. But it was, I didn't even download it. It was already on there.
Yeah.
Well, once upon a time, I was a photographer for my local newspaper, and I carried a camera around all the time. So I would probably get a lot of use out of this, and especially I can speak for journalists going the way that things are going today. Having a picture or having a camera that you can do editing on with a full screen and have it actually take decent pictures and not being from an iPhone or a phone camera, that will be really useful.
Yeah, that's clutch. People. Yeah, like a field reporter who's out there like doing his thing, like that's clutch. And being able to connect to a network and not having to hook it up to anything, that's money.
I think newspapers will be buying these for their reporters.
That's a good point.
So here it is size-wise, like compared to the Nexus 4.
Oh, it's not even that big.
It's not that big, and I mean, obviously it is this way, but you could probably cram this in a pocket. It definitely fit in a bag pretty easily.
Not only that, but look how photogenic that thing is. Like that is some sexy. That's sexy hardware.
I mean, it is pretty sexy. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a good-looking device. Like I think they just hit it out of the ballpark.
They did.
I want it.
It's pretty cool. I can't wait to actually use it. I'm gonna probably get a lot of use in it this weekend.
Once they come out with a Wi-Fi only version that you can buy directly from Samsung, I think that'll take off.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why they went HSPA only version. If they took that radio out, it would have been $100 cheaper probably, and then people probably would buy the hell out of it.
People would buy the hell out of it.
Yeah, because I think it is $499. If this thing was like $350 even, I bet people would buy it.
Oh, $350 would.
$349. That could get me the jump.
I mean, it is just a point and shoot, but I don't even know what the point and shoot market looks like these days. But I can't imagine.
Not very good. Let me tell you, it's not very good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not. This is definitely a cool option, though. Just the price kind of sucks. Let's talk about Google and Dish Network for a second. So this kind of came out of nowhere, right? I think it was a Wall Street Journal reported. No, it was somebody else. Anyways,
Wall Street, yeah.
Was it? Yeah. So Wall Street Journal reports that Dish Network and Google are in talks, although they said they made it clear that these are preliminary talks and they may not even be that far along, but they might create their own wireless network together. No one's really come out and shot that story down. And I think like the next day, somebody like 9 to 5 Google or something was like, oh yeah, this thing's confirmed. It's launching next year. I actually had a guy email us and say that he supposedly had heard that it had 2, and he was giving me pricing, and it was all this stuff. I just kind of laughed it off, but it's kind of a cool idea. I mean, when we wrote that story, everyone said, sign me up now. I will break my Verizon contract. I want Google's network. So, Eric, you kind of covered this a little bit. Like, give me your thoughts about this Google Dish stuff.
For the amount of rumors that we're hearing right now, it's probably it wouldn't be too far out of the realm of possibility. There's a lot of legal stuff that you have to go through the FCC to actually start using any kind of spectrum, before you can even start building. So, this, if they are in preliminary talks, it sounds about right. It doesn't, there's no ridiculous claims except for that guy who said he thinks he knows what the pricing is going to be. Yeah. But I think this is a pretty good move by them. Like we were talking last week on the show, Google kind of sees how certain industries are run, and then they say, well, this is how we're going to do it. I think that is their next step.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that rumor said from 9 to 5 Google, I think it said like it was going to be data only. I can't remember how they said that was going to work. Something about being data only and then VoIP for, I don't know.
See, that would make sense too, because if it was data only, they could just say, here's your Google Voice number and use our product. I could easily see that working.
It would be pretty amazing. Dave, Tim, you guys got any thoughts about a Google network? Well, Dave, we know you probably won't have connection wherever you are in this world.
Hey, I would like to see it happen. I would. I do think we need more competition for the pipelines here in America.
Yeah.
Well,
T-Mobile would be instantly out of business.
we got Cricket and Boost Mobile. Come on, you guys. Oh, someone's blowing up. Tim, any
Yes.
thoughts about Google Dish Network? I mean, we don't really know any details, right? We don't know like what kind of network it would be, if it's would be some sort of LTE. I don't think we know any of that, do we? We just know that Dish has Spectrum and they want to create a network. That's kind of what we know, right?
Yeah. At first I was like, oh, Dish Network, that's a bummer. But whatever. No hate. I mean, I've never had to deal with the company personally, but at least where I live, like you don't do Dish Network. Like you do Comcast. But either way, I think the idea is great. Yeah, I could throw my money at the screen, but I know it's not going to happen overnight. So, but then I know, he was talking about there was an FCC board member or something like that.
Yeah, today.
Or who's like on board? Yeah, like come on, So I just want to know who's lobbying this, the FCC and stuff.
Google.
I mean, there's got to be exactly.
Google.
So Google has a ton of money. I mean, they could throw a whole bunch into this and really make it killer and probably, get it all approved and all that. I don't see why there'd be any problem, like, at least on the legal, like, side of it, unless Verizon and AT&T and all of them, like, lobbied against it, Like, who knows if that's going to happen? Because I don't know. I really don't want to say anything.
Well, remember last month there was that senator that threatened the FCC if they brought a case against Google, like he was going to bring Congress to limit their power. Like,
yeah.
Google's got some pretty high friends in Congress, apparently. So
I think they spent more money lobbying last year than like anybody on Earth.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think we saw something that came out. Yeah, it makes sense for Google to look into that. Clearly, with this Nexus 4 launch, they've shown that they hate carriers completely. And like you said, Eric, Google's one of those companies that says, if you don't do this the way we like it, we'll just create a competing service and crush you. I don't know that you could just crush AT&T and Verizon. They're so huge. But if Google can make more money through their ad business and their own wireless network, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they created Google Glasses, so why wouldn't they create a wireless network?
I think you're missing Google Fiber. I think they're putting pressure on ISPs, even in Kansas City. I want to know how people are there being affected by Google Fiber and what maybe the other competition in just Kansas City is reacting to Google offering this outrageous offer for not even that much money. It seems it's not outlandish to think that Google could just come in and take over on anything they want, basically.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder. I haven't looked into it all, but I wonder what all the. I don't know who's in Kansas City, if it's Comcast or who's there. But I wonder. Yeah, are they all like slashing prices now?
Exactly.
It's mostly Time Warner's big there, and Bright House, and I think Comcast has a pretty big presence there too.
Okay. Yeah, I would just be curious to know if they're slashing prices, what they're doing, because they're undercutting everything those guys are doing by a lot.
Yeah.
And it's better. And it's better everything.
A gig down and a gig up? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it makes me want to move to Kansas City, and I never thought I'd want to move to Kansas City.
I think there's a lot of people that want to move to Kansas City right now.
Yeah,
man.
I want to be in
The
a
food's
fight.
good.
Oh, the barbecue's awesome.
I'm telling you, man.
Awesome. We just need to buy a big house there, like 10 of us, and just all move in and
Let's do it. I'm down.
just hog this fiber connection. It would be awesome.
That better be a really big house. It's going to be 10 of us, man.
Yeah,
Just
but
think about it, though.
Not
You
to
go to
hate
the-
on Kansas City, but I'm sure a big house in Kansas City is not that expensive,
I don't
right?
have to
You'd be
share a
There's
bunk
some
bed
pretty
with
nice
Eric.
neighborhoods in Kansas City.
I mean, I'm sure there are, but never mind. I'm just going to shut up now.
Just think about it, though. You go to the Google Play Store, you order yourself a Galaxy Nexus, they ship it to you, they say log on to this website, and we'll get you set up with your Google Voice number, and then once you load that up, they send a message to your phone that starts activating it on this network, and you never have to see the inside of a retail store ever again. Now, that's not necessarily a good thing in all situations, but still, I think they've got a pretty good idea going here that they could change the game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But like you said, that's not always the best thing. As everyone's dealt with over the last couple of weeks, the whole customer service thing with Nexus sales and stuff. But I like that idea that yeah, Google, you buy your phone through the Google Play Store, it arrives, you turn it on, activate, you're done, and you're up and running. And it's probably, I'm sure if they do something, it'll be for insanely cheap. They'll charge like $25 a month for 6 gig of data or something like that because they're Google, and that's what they seem to do all the time. All right, let's move on to Root Toolkit. So everybody in the chat, we know many of you are passionate about this. The Nexus 4, Nexus 10 each got Root Toolkits this week. Root Toolkit basically is a program that runs on a computer, and you just click away and say root, give me recovery, unlock bootloader, flash factory image, yada yada yada. Basically, it makes it dummy proof. And there's this vocal group of people out there that say, we hate root toolkits. That just means we have more newbies in our forums and more people we have to help because they break stuff and don't know what they're doing and da 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 da. So I just want to go around and just know what you guys think about root toolkits. So Dave, I'll start with you. What do you think about root toolkits in general?
I think they're. I actually think they're positive for the community because you're actually giving something to someone who may not have knowledge, but at the same time, if you are making the toolkit essentially foolproof where it says, hey, you push this for this, with directions, you're actually making it so they're not going to mess up their phone through the process of getting it to the point that you're advertising, whether it be root or whatnot. What happens after that, yes, they may go and try something else and type in some command and screw it up, but as far as the root toolkit goes, I do think they are positive because it's just an easy way to help them get to a point they want to be at. What happens from there is not, because of the toolkit.
Yeah, I like them now. When I was originally getting into development and stuff like that, or not development, ROMs. I'm not a developer by any means. I remember doing everything manually because that's just how you had to do it. You had to do everything manually, and so I learned it all back in the day with the OG Droid and all that stuff. But now I don't mind a root toolkit because I may not be near a computer, or I guess maybe I don't have the time to download every single thing, keep up with new fast boot files, and yada, yada, yada. So it makes sense, but I still know how to go fix it. Personally, I don't mind them. I think it brings more people into that side of hacking, and a lot of people, I think, probably take it and will learn, manually how to do it and grow and all of that stuff. I know a lot of people who do it just because it's quick and easy, and then they go into forums and look for help. I don't necessarily know that there's a huge population of people doing it that way. I mean, at least I hope not. I think they probably stick out. But I just think and again, I'm not a developer and I'm not the one supporting these ROMs and stuff, but I think it just seems like you would want more people using your stuff, and root toolkits definitely help get that out there. So, Eric, what do you think?
I'm the same way. I like to do it manually because I like to know how to do things in case things go wrong, because then you have a little bit more of understanding of how do I reverse that, how do I get back to that. But I don't see them as bad. I think back in the day they used to be kind of sketchy, but to the point where they are now, they are like just awesome. You can't go wrong using them. I think it invites more people to root their phones, and especially with all the benefits that you can get from unlocking and rooting your phone, it saves people all the hard stuff of looking up how to unlock and root, and lets them worry about what can I do to extend my phone's battery life or something like that. So I don't mind them, but personally I like to get my hands dirty every once in a while.
Yeah, definitely. Tim, bring the heat. What do you got?
I want to apologize because I think I kind of started this back when we were back in our OG Droid days and stuff. The toolkits were coming out, and I was like a very avid screw you guys, who are getting off easy, basically. I had to go through forums, I had to learn all this stuff, how to do it, and I messed up my phone a bunch of times, and now everyone can just easily one-click root, and at first I was like, not only is that not fair, but then again, these people could mess up their device and be screwed and not know what to do. So I was kind of avidly against them, but at the same time, I supported it in the fact that it made it easy, of course. But now, of course, I feel like it's fine because it saves me a bunch of time from doing a whole bunch of stuff. But I want to make sure that people that are rooting their phones, unlocking their bootloaders, know what they're getting into. I mean, and there's not going to be a bunch of carrier warnings hey, this is going to void your warranty, blah blah blah. I mean, It's just people might get in over their head, and I just don't want that to happen.
I'm pretty sure I had the scare of bricking my Droid 2 like 4 or 5 different times during the life of that phone, and I'm sure most people don't ever have to go through that again. But it's something, it teaches you. You don't have to. You learn from it, and you learn not to do that over again.
Majority of the scares with those devices was the SBF part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, because that software was crap. Having to flash an SBF through Moto software, it would either work or just not work. And when it wouldn't work, you're just kind of like, okay, why is it not working? There's not very definitive answers on forums, and it was just a real pain in the butt. So, and everyone who talked to me like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna root my phone with this, blah blah. I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing, do you? Like, and you're just gonna screw it up. And then
it used to be like shady, like going down a back alley, opening a door, and talking to some dude in a trench coat to have like to get the exploit to that you needed to flash once you got root.
Right.
It was just it's different now. Android's a lot bigger than it used to be. So.
Yeah,
it used to be so different. You're right. I mean, I don't know. We've all had so many scares. And yeah, the Motorola SBF thing, what a disaster. Those were like, you click the button and it was like playing Russian roulette. Like, you didn't know. Like, you didn't know if that was going to finish, if your phone was dead. Yeah,
RSD Lite. That's what it was. RSD Lite.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different now. A lot better. But yeah, root toolkits, I mean, I think they're a good way for people to get into it. I think we probably all hope that people will try to learn some of the manual stuff to know what's actually happening to their phone. I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen. We are sort of a fast food nation, right? We like everything quick and fast and easy. So, yeah, anyway, we can move on from root toolkits. So we're actually at an hour. Do you guys want to keep going?
Yeah, we can go for a little bit more.
Well, since we're going to be ending the week a little early, let's just go over some apps and games, but we can do it real quick, just so people have something to take them into the weekend. And I want you to talk about the Windows Phone 8X, and then that's it. Then we can end.
Yeah, so let's just bust through some apps. I know, Tim, I think you have a few in there. So why don't you just talk about some of the apps you're using right now, then we'll get into some games, and then, yeah, we'll wrap up, not keep these guys too damn long.
Yeah, of course. So I wrote up not that long ago Falcon for Twitter, and of course immediately I was getting hit up on IM and in the comments like, this guy has a full Twitter app, blah blah blah. After I just made a huge case that controlling your Twitter account from a widget is a good idea. Of course he screwed me, but Falcon for Twitter, I actually like the idea of just doing it from the widget. Like, I don't want a full app. Like, not having to go into an app was probably why I just don't tweet from my phone initially. But if it's on my home screen, I can do everything, then that's fine. Falcon for Twitter, I really like it. And whatever else the developer is doing, I'm sure it's great because the widget's great. Secondly, InstaMessage finally got released for Android. If you are into Instagram and you are an iOS fanboy, then you know what InstaMessage is.
I have no idea what this is. What
exactly.
Is it?
Thirdly, if you're not an iOS fanboy, InstaMessage is kind of like, it's a messaging service for Instagram users. So you load the application onto your phone, you log into your Instagram account, and then it sees who else on your Instagram feed has InstaMessage, and then you can just IM with your Instagram friends.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So it's Facebook Messenger?
Exactly, but for Instagram.
Because we need another messenger.
Oh, yeah, you definitely have to have this one.
Dude.
So either way, well, I like talking to people. It's just another way for me to keep in touch with friends, family, blah, blah, blah. Because usually I only follow, family and friends on Instagram. I don't follow a bunch of randoms. Maybe a Rick Ross here and there, but other than that, nothing else.
Everybody should follow Rick Ross.
Everyone has to follow Rick Ross.
He's the best.
Yeah, he is the best. And yeah, so InstaMessage and Falcon for Twitter. Those are my 2 app recommendations for this week.
What's Pixlr Express? Is that something else you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, that's right. I saw Loki and Thor's name and I skipped it. So Pixlr, I don't have Photoshop installed on my Windows machine, and so what I do is I use pixlr.com/editor, and it's kind of like Photoshop, but an online service of it. And so Pixlr Express is kind of like that, but for your phone, basically. You can just edit images, add all that stuff, but it's more kind of high quality. It's not just filters or anything, but it's actual kind of photo editing software. And not just photos, but just images, add layers. It's kind of, it's like a cheap, dumbed down Photoshop for your phone, which I like.
Nice.
So Pixlr Express, I haven't written it up yet, but I plan to, and yes.
Sweet.
That's
Eric or Dave, you guys have any just new apps you've been using lately or anything you want to talk about?
Shout out to Chadwick for updating and putting NCAA scores in there. So I'm set for NBA and college basketball season now.
Seriously, I downloaded that app after you brought it up last week on the show. It's awesome.
How awesome is it?
Although there was a bug in it, and he fixed it already, and it was showing scores flipped. So, like when the Knicks beat Memphis, when Memphis beat the Knicks and ended their undefeated streak, it was flipped. And so somebody was like, oh, did the Knicks win and keep it alive? And I was like, oh, yeah, they totally won. And they did. They had lost. Like later on that night, somebody's like, hey, buddy. And I looked in the app and it was flipped. And the guy released it that fixed this week that also included NCAA scores. So, Chadwick, awesome app. I don't know, Dave, you use anything new? You got anything you want to pimp?
New for the past month, I've been using Slice to. I've been doing a lot of online shopping, and especially as we're getting in the holiday season, this one essentially taps into your Gmail and pulls all the receipts and literally gives you status on it, so you know when stuff's shipped, when it gets delivered. You can actually see how much money you spent. You can actually get right to the tracking if you want to. Really handy app, actually, and you don't have. All you have to do is say, "This is my Gmail account," and it goes through, gets authenticated, and then you're set.
Yo, I'm putting $5 down right now and saying that Google's going to buy them and put that right into Google Now.
I'm surprised they haven't. Yeah, I mean they kind of did it already, right? A little bit. It's not as advanced as Slide.
Yeah.
The worst part about that app is when you load it up and it starts going through your history, and you just get to watch the money you spent just tick up and up and up and up, and you just go, "Oh my God, I spent a lot of money online." But it is cool. I'm glad you brought that app up. I forgot about that. The only app I've been using recently that's new is Lock Screen Policy, and it's because I got it for my Nexus 4. Lock Screen Policy allows you to kill off the lock screen widgets and the camera slide over screen. I just like it because I don't necessarily like lock screen widgets. Obviously, you guys know this. I don't need to rant about it for like the 10th time. But one of the things that bugs me, and what the developer said to me when he emailed me this app was, every time you unlock your phone or you just press the lock switch, you can see these two lock screen bars, they glow. And so they like tell you like, hey, we're here. And it drives me nuts. Like I just want it to be clean. I just want one button. And so it's just one of those sort of pet peeve things of mine. But yeah, Lock Screen Policy, it's free. And the way the guy explained it to me is it's a service I think that's already in Android. Google just hasn't really enabled it. And if you use this app, you like create a device administrator, like not policy. Anyway, you basically go in and you just flag these things to on or off, I believe. And so I'm sure it'll come eventually. But Google should have allowed this to happen from the get-go. They should have allowed you to turn those off if you didn't want them. Sort of surprised they went that far. So anyway, that's the app I was using. Let's talk games real quick, Tim. I know you got a little list there. You want to run down the games you've just been bringing up over the last couple of days?
Yep, I'll be quick. New games, 4 of them. So I wrote up Avengers Initiative for Marvel already. It's like an official Avengers Initiative. I don't know why people aren't so stoked about this in the comments. I think it's awesome. $5 promo price. But you play as the Hulk, you smash, it's sweet. Secondly, Ingress from Google and Niantic Labs. I only did a little bit of walking around, so I haven't gotten too much involved in it yet because I've been too busy, but with the weekend coming and all this vacation, I'll have plenty of time to really get into it, and maybe I'll even do a little video review. But so basically, Google put out this game. It's like a virtual reality. You use your phone to find locations. It's fun. You collect stuff. You help other people in your area. It's pretty cool. Ingress. We wrote it up.
It's invite only, though, right now. So.
Right, but invites are going out steadily.
Yeah.
So,
Eric, did you get to use Ingress at all? Have you played it at all?
Yeah, I was actually trying to do it today. I was driving around looking at houses, so I was like, oh, I'll just turn it on and collect all this XP as I'm driving around. Somehow Google knows when you're in the car. And
that's cheating, sir.
So
you
have to
can't cheat.
So I was like, damn it.
It's good for you. Don't worry. Like someone else was like, "Oh, you have to walk. It's like a baby's toy." Or something. I was like, "It's good for you. Get outside, dude. Like, come on."
But it is pretty fun.
Yeah, and it's done so well.
Yeah,
like
it's really cool.
They put so much into the development of this game, and so I owe it to them to give it a
Going to Field Trip, which is also made by Niantic Labs, and you can check the little thing, and then whenever you're near one of the Ingress landmarks, and it'll come up on Field Trip. Yeah,
that's cool.
That's a pro tip right there.
That is a pro tip. Okay, so now I know. I'm gonna have to try that out.
Yeah.
The third out of 4, Grand Theft Auto Vice City is coming out December 6th.
Yeah.
For me, that is such awesome news.
Are you guys actually going to download that? Like, explain
Yes.
How old is this game?
10 years.
Wow.
It has such a good soundtrack. That's really all I want to play it for.
Awesome
Grand Theft
soundtrack. Not only that, but Grand Theft Auto, even number 3, when it came out, it played so smooth on Android, and it's just awesome. Like, so I know Vice City is going to kick even more butt, because that game I loved way more than the third Grand Theft Auto.
It's going to hold us over until GTA 5.
Which will, yeah, that'll no problem. I got Black Ops 2 for that, but yeah. Either way, so December 6th it'll come out.
Do we know how much it is?
For $5, $4.99. Yeah, $5 I think.
It's probably like $5.
Yeah, it's $4.99 I think is what I saw in the press release.
But I mean, so you guys have played some of the other ones on Android. Are the controls crappy? Like no, they're actually
they're
good.
Awesome. They're smooth. Like that's
you
why.
know how I am about on-screen controls, and I can deal with it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just not that bad. I don't know how they did it, but they did something with the mapping. It's just smooth. It's great. I know they work closely like with NVIDIA on all that stuff, so it feels good. And then, so it's not out yet, but once it is, you can trust me, we'll do a huge Droid Life hype beast of it. Lastly for me is Predators, and we've talked about it, probably once or twice, not on the show, but on the site, and that game kicks ass. Like, that game is fun. It's like $2 or something like that, and you just run around as a Predator and just, like, killing stuff. Yeah. Like, that's awesome. So you can't ask for to spend $2 on anything better. So that's it from me. I'm done.
Yeah. Anybody else with games? No? Yeah, that's quite a bit. I know. Well, I think everybody's been sort of like impressed with Ingress and all that good stuff. So
yeah.
All right, so Tim, you wanted me to talk about Windows Phone, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. There it is.
All right. There.
I feel like the comments are gonna blow up, and people are just gonna be like, "Don't talk about that.
Don't talk about Windows Phone." Yeah, I'll make it quick. So Windows Phone 8, I wanted to just take a look at it. I played with Windows Phone 7 a while ago and wasn't that impressed. I played with the Nokia 900 and it was awful. But this is the HTC 8X, and this phone it's actually pretty awesome. It's shaped like a pillow. It feels like a pillow. HTC is doing some nice things with the hardware. I don't know how the DNA really feels, but this thing feels just as good as like the 1X did. I just remember putting it in my hand and going, oh yeah. But it's kind of weird. Like Windows Phone, like you can see how tall it is and how it's not very wide. So it's kind of weird. But there's no notification panel or anything like that. So I don't know. Windows Phone's nice. I don't really have that much else to say. It has wireless charging, has NFC, which only probably works with other Windows phones, not Android. It's LTE. The camera sucks so far, even though it's supposed to be good. I don't know.
Like, OS in general, like, I know that you always complain about about the lack of a native Google Voice application.
Oh, yeah.
Is it that bad?
So I found there's a couple of decent ones, and I was having a voicemail issue that I fixed. So that seems to be fine now. There's actually this, it's called Go Voice, and it's Metro UI style Google Voice app. It's pretty good. Most of the apps have weird push notifications, like you have to like fully enable them or they just won't happen. Like apps just kill themselves in the background and stop running unless you like tell them to. And a lot of developers haven't seemed to build stuff like that in, so the apps run kind of weird.
What do you think about not having Notification Center?
Yeah, it sucks. So notifications, like I have a Google Talk app and it's like some random app since there's no Google Talk actual real app. But yeah, if somebody sends me a message or I get an email or something, they pop up while you're in an app. And if you don't like press on them right away and go into the app, they just kind of disappear and then they disappear forever. So there's no way to at least I just haven't figured that out. But I don't think
no, there's not. That was one of the big things that they didn't put in. They're like, sorry, we didn't have time to do that.
Yeah, so there's nothing. So if you get all these notifications like email, Google Talk, Google Voice, and yada, all this stuff, it'll notify you, and then they just go away, and then they're gone forever, and you can forget about them. It is, yeah. So the notification thing on them it's garbage. Other than that, it's kind of okay. All the apps, though, you have to like rebuy them, and there's, yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird to switch from one platform to the other. That's something we've talked about, actually, is how you kind of buy into an ecosystem. Like, you're a Google guy, you're an Apple guy, or you're a Microsoft guy now.
Yep.
And if you switch, it sucks because you really do have to buy like all your games, and since there's no like native Google Talk or Gmail or all those stuff, like people have made third-party versions of a lot of apps, but they're all paid apps if you want the decent ones. So like just today alone, I've spent like $10 on apps just because I needed like a good Google Reader app and a good Google Talks. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I'm gonna give it a spin. We might review it. We'll see. It's fun so far though.
As he throws it to the desk.
I like the look of the hardware a lot.
It is one sexy device. I mean, it really is. And it feels really nice. The screen's kind of small. It's 4.3 inch, but it's HD. So they actually went 4.3 and 720p, which I don't know that anybody's really doing. The notification light, I believe, is the same crappy HTC red, orange, and green only. I think that's all they use, right? It does have Windows home button, back button, search button. It uses Bing. You can download Google Search to it. It's come a long way. I mean, like, there's more apps. They're just not as many of the good ones that you're used to using. Like in Android, we have all these awesome third-party Twitter apps and all this stuff. Those are
not so much anymore.
Well, yeah, they're all dying off. That's probably a topic we should bring up next week. But
we should.
Yeah. There's apps on here. There's just no developers. So you really like when we used to talk about Android didn't have any good apps. It doesn't even compare to the lack of good apps on Windows Phone on this platform. Like, there's nothing out there. Like, you even go to like the top free or paid apps and you scroll through the list and you're like, these all suck. I don't know why people are downloading these. Yeah. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's a show.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to episode 6. Live broadcast goes up right after this if you want to watch us again later.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, Thanksgiving, Tim, Eric, Dave, Ron, and I, we're not going to be around tomorrow. So enjoy your Thanksgiving.
We're going to be eating food.
Eat lots of food. Enjoy family, friends. Drive safe. If you drink, please drive safe. We don't want any accidents. So anyways, yeah, that's it. We will see you guys next week at Wednesday night. We're out.
Later.
Later.
Goodbye.